Welcome to the Her Voice Shines podcast, where we celebrate the power, brilliance, and resilience of women everywhere. I'm your host, Cassandra Washington. Join us as we share inspiring stories and insights from extraordinary women who have found their voice and are making a difference. Together, we'll create a ripple effect, illuminating the path to visibility and empowerment. Let's break barriers, shatter ceilings, and lift each other up. In each episode, we dive deep into the journeys of women who have turned their challenges into triumphs and their dreams into reality. Whether you're looking for motivation, guidance, or a community that understands your journey, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and remember, let your voice shine. Well, we're back with another amazing episode of the Her Voice Shines podcast. I'm your fabulous host, Cassandra Washington, located in the beautiful city of Houston, Texas. And you already know this is one of our favorite places to be. We have another amazing guest. I think this guest is going to be great. We had a great time getting started this morning. She's going to jump right in and tell us her name, where she's streaming from. And you know we waste no time. She jumps right into that story. And without further ado, here she is.
Hello, everyone. This is Cassandra Hill in the natural state of Arkansas. So great to be here. And wow, my story went, it's one of those stories that I got a lot of stories, but the one you'll hear about today is my experience working in corporate America. Because for many of us, especially if you're a Black woman listening to this podcast, you probably grew up being told you got to get an education. Like, education is that ticket that opens doors, ensures that you have a great future. And so I grew up hearing that. My parents, they had me fairly young. My mother was a teen when she got pregnant with me and everything. So education was something that was emphasized throughout my childhood. And as soon as I graduated high school, I started college, was fortunate to get the bachelor's, get the master's, and here I am in corporate America. And for many of us, we work in corporate America and we're climbing that ladder to have quote unquote success. But the problem with it, here's the problem with the success, it comes to our own demise. I know for me, what it looked like, I was working very long hours. I was neglecting my health, my well-being, and you can only do that for so long. And so I did that for just over a decade. And my body said, Cassandra, you have not given us rest. You have not given us a vacation. So we're going to demand a vacation. And my body shut down, complete shutdown. And I was diagnosed with systemic lupus, which is an autoimmune condition. And I was only in my 30s. And I'm like, okay, this is my reality check. I know I got to do something different. And in the midst of doing that treatment, part of my treatment included chemo drugs. So, of course, I couldn't work corporate and do chemo. So that gave me the break from corporate. And in the midst of doing that treatment, I really wasn't happy with the results that I was getting. And I felt like healthcare practitioners wasn't listening to me, my voice, and I was just expected to live in pain. And I got fed up. I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, like the saying goes. And so I ended up going back to college, studying holistic medicine and taking courses in health and wellness. And God blessed me to develop a regimen that has put me in remission for the past 8 years. And I made a promise to God when I healed myself that I would help as many other people as possible toward their healing. And how that ended up coming to what I'm doing now, I realized that what I went through wasn't abnormal. For a lot of Black women, yes, we're the most educated segment of the US population and all that good stuff. But on our road to quote unquote success, we neglect ourselves. And so I'm fortunate and thankful to do what I do now, which I'm a transformation agent for Black women. And as a master life coach, I give us that emotional and mental well-being we deserve. And at the same time, that financial stability as well, because yes, we gotta have income, we gotta have money coming in. But the most important asset that we have is this, us. What you look at in the mirror is your most valuable asset. And I learned it the hard way. And I'm thankful and honored to empower other women, but particularly Black women, toward their healing as well.
Okay, Cassandra, you got some heat, because I was sitting back there thinking about my own story, and that's why I love this place, because I too was in corporate. I left in 2021, and baby, that burnout, I was telling somebody else, I was the poster child for burnout for probably starting really at 2019 to the time that I left. And to be in that place and knowing and hearing the cues of my health saying, you better do something. You better choose another path, because this is literally so much wear and tear. And when you said that success can sometimes be the demise, my antenna went up immediately. And the other part of that, Cassandra, that's really, really good is this education around education that we get as Black women. I wrote a book, and in that book, I talk about this whole idea of going to school and getting a good job. But it can't be that good if it's breaking my back and my spirit and everything else. I just have to be real when I talk about it in that space. So I'm so happy that you brought that up. But it's just so many questions I got to ask you. But let me just go here first. So when you got the lupus diagnosis, did you even understand, number one, what lupus was? And then number two, you started to get some chemo treatment. What was going on there? Did you know that that chemo could be used to treat lupus? Did you start doing like massive amounts of research? I know for me, when I hear something, my brain goes into overload, especially if I don't know what's going on. So can you talk to us in that space when you first got the diagnosis, and then you trying to understand and decipher what they're doing to treat you?
Yeah. Initially, when I was diagnosed, actually I was doing research myself, because I was having symptoms. I had been having problems with my health off and on for several years. I was diagnosed as being anemic as a undergrad college student. I was diagnosed as that, had been treated for that for all these years, but I always felt like something wasn't completely right, like it had to be more to it than that. And so after my last miscarriage, I started doing more research myself, and requesting all my medical records, because I had been to so many doctors across the state of Texas, because for many years I lived in Texas. And as I looked at all these medical records, I noticed a pattern, and it seemed like my body was attacking itself. And I knew then, okay, I must have some type of autoimmune condition, because prior to being an entrepreneur, I worked as a gerontologist in the healthcare industry. So I was familiar with healthcare, but I specialized on the aging side of it. And so I knew about autoimmune conditions and everything. And as I started doing more research, I said, well, it seems like I may have systemic lupus. And so I actually went to the doctor myself, requested an ANA test, and that test came back positive. So I kind of diagnosed, helped the doctors diagnose me. But what I didn't know is that in rare cases, systemic lupus, I didn't realize that chemo would be an option for me, because honestly, I thought, well, hey, I can get on some antivirals, and I'm gonna go back to work. If I'm just being honest, I'm like, corporate, it is what it is, but I like the stability. I like knowing I'm gonna get this going. I really hadn't thought about doing chemo and having to leave, but I tell you, God always has a plan that's better than yours.
Look, Cassandra trying to take a little medicine, going on back to work. That's not what Cassandra on the real, like that's not what that was supposed to be about. But that is the mentality that many of us have when you worked in corporate. But that's really crazy to know that you were really that sick and you thinking like, okay, let me take this little medicine and come on, get back on it. That's really a interesting place to be mentally. And like I say, I've experienced that as well. I love what you're doing because we need more people in this space that know the language. Because you said, and I have been here, they did not listen to me. They did not listen to me. I have been there in my journey, particularly in my journey with pregnancy and labor and delivery. And I share this often. I'm very transparent about it because I am definitely an advocate in this space, to a space where I almost lost my life doing childbirth, giving birth to my son. They do not listen. So when I meet mental health advocates specifically that focus on Black women's health, I'm always giving them roses on the spot because it's so many places that these advocates need to show up. Because sometimes if you don't know what to say, you don't know how to approach it, they just gonna keep you in this meal. They'll keep you in this chopper meal of what's going on. So I want you to talk about your client's experience with you. So they're coming to you at what point, and they kind of talk about that transformation through your services.
Yes. Normally when a woman comes to me, she may be in business for herself, or she's maybe in corporate America as well, and she's stressed, she's overwhelmed, and she's right at the point to where she knows if she doesn't take some type of action, that her life is going to look a lot different in a way that she doesn't want it. So she's frustrated. Her relationships with family, friends isn't where she wants it to be. If she's in business, her business isn't where she wants it to be. And we start there. And the first thing, what makes me a little different than most master life coaches out there, I'm also a holistic health practitioner as well. We start here. Because I could tell you drink water and keep green smoothies and all the things, but if you're not healthy here, if you don't realize your worth, your value, what you bring to the world, you're not going to stick with any type of regimen. So we really dig in on the self-love and knowing your worth, and we do some work around that. And as we're working on that, making you understand that you are a queen and to treat yourself accordingly. For those who are entrepreneurs, we work on a plan to give your business that visibility, strategies to take your business to the next level, but at the same time, give you that well-being emotionally and mentally you deserve. So for different women, it looks different. One lady that comes to mind that I worked with not too long ago that was an entrepreneur, her next she reached her ideal weight. She got healthy. She was able to get off some medication that she really didn't need anymore because of where she was at emotionally and mentally and how that impacted her physical health. As far as her business, she was able to secure Google as one of her clients. And then we worked together on putting a package together for that type of client. And so different people have different goals, aspirations, whatever that looks like for you, we get you there. You got to do the work though, but I'm holding hand with you and we get you to where you want to be.
I love it. And I hope that if there is someone who's listening, especially if you are working a high stress job, like I was in financial services where like the money, like you could see the money on the clock, basically. So I would always say it. If you're working in high impact, high stress job, and you also too have other competing priorities, because we don't talk about the stuff that's also too happening outside of the career that you're managing. It's a good sign that you need to get some help. And I'm in a place in my life where I tell people like, I can't afford not to have help. I got to have somebody helping me in spaces, Cassandra, because of course, getting older, priorities are changing. And I would rather get the help than regret it. And I think a lot of people get in that particular position. So I'm just so honored about the work that you do. Let me ask you this, because I know that you took this business route as kind of, it was a part of your story. It's almost divine, right? Because it was, you know, you got sick. We don't, of course, like that part of it, but it had to happen for us to see Cassandra here today doing this. Talk about that journey into entrepreneurship, because it's different from corporate. It's a different thing. So I want you to talk about that transitional space, even though it did have to be a result of your sickness, but just talk about how you kind of flowed into that.
You know, for me, the transition into entrepreneurship, yes, it looks different. Now, yes, I was a gerontologist. Well, I still am a gerontologist. I'm still licensed and everything. But managing someone else's company, because I did work in management since soon as I got out of grad school up into my career ended, I always worked in management. But managing someone else's company versus your own, like, this is my baby. Literally, is mine. It requires way more time, way more energy. And then you also understand, especially for me, that even in the midst of having the success you want as an entrepreneur, you know firsthand that the self-care is important. So for me, it's been setting a business. When I started my company, it's hard to believe it's been 6 years. 6 years ago, it was a virtual business day one. I chose to operate virtually and pick and choose the times that I work, the days that I work. Right now in my business, for example, my coaching days are Tuesday through Thursday. Outside of those days, I don't coach because I need to give myself that space for me to do my self-care, to keep my cup overflowing so I can pour into the people I'm called to serve. And I think that's really important. And then another thing as an entrepreneur versus corporate, and I say this especially as we think about what's going on in the world. We look at the Fearless Fund, them being forced to stop supporting Black women entrepreneurs. We can't expect other people to support us. Us as sisters, we got to support one another. You know, we got to be intentional with how we spend our dollars and focus on reaching out. And I'm not saying don't shop mainstream, you still can, but be intentional in supporting entrepreneurs as well, because most of the time we're the ones that's giving back to our community and making a real difference. And we've already made a big sacrifice because many of us, we left corporate, and yes, we had whatever experiences, but our salary was pretty decent for a lot of us. And to come into entrepreneurship and your revenue flows, it peaks, it hits valleys, But when you're able to know that, hey, I'm doing this. Yes, it's a livelihood, but it's more than that. It's a calling. For me, I'll speak for Cassandra. For me, it's my calling. Is what God has me to do. Be intentional on supporting Black women entrepreneurs, because I know right now there's so many programs that's focused on supporting us that's under attack. I know Hello Alice recently won their court case. They was being sued for issuing grants to minorities. And are those programs needed? Yes. But if the billions of dollars we spend in this economy, if we was intentional on spending 2 to 3% within our community, it would change the game for us as a whole.
Oh, that's good. Intentional dollars, because of course I've been following the stuff for Fearless Fund. I mean, sometimes it just get too heartbreaking to watch, so I have to kind of, pace myself, because for that to be under attack, for us to be getting literally less than 1% of venture capital funds, like that right there should be the offense. Let's start there. Yeah. I mean, so the reason why this particular thing even had to be created is really to combat the lack. It's to combat the lack. So it's always, you get the information because you want to stay abreast in the flow, because you are a woman in business and it's good to know what's going on. But sometimes I have to kind of scale back, because it becomes to be just a little bit too much and heartbreaking for me. So I've even posted about that particular situation, and I am rooting for them and hoping that they can continue, because they have done some life-changing things in people's businesses. So I fully support the cause. I want to ask you this, Cassandra, because I know this is probably changing for you. I find it changing for me at maybe every few years or so, I guess, getting older. Mm-hmm. What is happiness for you? What makes Cassandra happy now in this space? This could, of course, change throughout life. I want you to reflect on that, because I know now you're doing your own thing. You appear to be fluent in calling. So that sometimes brings the happiness for me when I think about it. I'm just getting to the podcast, girl. I finally made it. They've been telling me. So now I'm starting to, I feel like I'm starting to do the things I do very naturally. But I didn't think that this would be the thing 2 years ago. So I just want you to think about your journey with happiness and what kind of brings you that joy and peace, and what does that mean for you?
Oh, wow. When I think about happiness, I think back to my childhood, and I remember being a kid, and I would make a microphone, just makeshift microphone with different stuff around the house, and I would speak. And, growing up as a kid, I didn't know that people spoke for a living. I just didn't realize that was an option for me. And so I did it growing up, and then never really pursued it when I got to adulthood. And so I can recall, even as a gerontologist, the first time I was asked to present some research that I had did on Alzheimer's. And that was like my first time speaking, like on a big level. And then as life would have it, for most entrepreneurs, you're a speaker, because it's hard to have a business and not speak. And when I think about happiness now, and I remember how much joy I would have as a kid walking around with that microphone and just speaking to whoever came to our home, And now, even just this month, being one of the top voices on LinkedIn, top public speaking voices, and it's like, wow, it's such a full circle moment, because who would have thought this girl who grew up in the South, got this Southern accent, that me, I'm a top public speaking voice. So that brings me happiness. And And what I love about when I'm speaking, the feedback, sometimes it's that day, you hear different people say how you touch their lives. Or what I really love, because everyone has a day where you're just ready to be like, okay, I'm good. I can stop doing this. And then you get that email or you get that DM from someone and they share how you. I know one lady reached out to me and let me know that she literally was ready to take her life because she has lupus, and it was a very severe case. And after listening to me, she thought, well, there's hope. And she decided to keep living, so those bring happiness, to my life when I think about those moments that, hey, you're making change, even when you feel like you're not doing enough.
Yeah, and I think he sprinkles those in too. Like when he knows that you like, I'm teetering, you'll see a little piece of confirmation, pat on the back to keep you on that journey. So I try to keep my ear leaned in for that too, because I tell people all the time, I was like, yeah, you pat me on the back, but I quit 3 times in my head this morning. So hey. So hey, I'm just walking it out. I backed out a lot of times. I happen to make it. So I tell people all the time, like, thank you for saying that. If I'm telling you thank you, I need that. I'm not just saying that to be cliche. I really need it. And I really, really appreciate it. Tell us what's next, Cassandra. What is next for you? You strike me as someone. I love the speaking. I love the voice, by the way. I was gonna tell you after, but I was gonna say you have a wonderful speaking voice. I love it. But tell us what's next. What things are you working on, and what are you looking for to kind of maybe even scale this business or get more eyes on it?
Yeah. What's next for me? You definitely will see I'm working on a book. It should be coming out 2025. I'm super excited about it. It's another inspirational book for those who been following me. I have my devotional, He Restoreth My Soul, Triumph Through Adversity. And God is blessed. That book has won awards and, has really touched people's life. And so I just felt led to do another inspirational book. So you'll see that coming out next year. Another thing I'm super excited about, I'm in talks now. So soon you will see me having my own channel, television channel, where I'll be able to share stories of women who are making change in this world, just a positive outlet for media, because I feel right now, yes, there's a space for us to be entertained and see all the things, but I also feel it's time for us to see us in a positive light as well. So in talks right now to make that happen. And so you'll probably see that happening next year as well. So those are the major things that's in the works.
Now, Cassandra, when you get the TV show and channel, call me back. So
yeah.
I'm just putting it out there. But anyway, you can't leave here without telling people where to find you, how to follow the website. Let us know where to find you so that our viewers can connect with you.
Sure, you can connect with me. Just go to my Linktree /Hiller Cassandra. And there you'll see all my links for resources, books, the digital courses, all the things you'll find right there. I'm also partnered with Royal Boutique, which is a women's clothing boutique. They ship nationwide, and so you'll see some of their catalog there as well. And they are big on supporting nonprofits. And one of the nonprofits they support is Black-owned women nonprofits. So go check out my link tree and just know that even the affiliates that's there, you will be supporting a Black woman entrepreneur in making their dream possible.
I love it. So we have to cue to Cassandra's final thoughts. We give you a moment here to say, if nothing else, you take this away from this space with Cassandra. So we're going to give you that moment to cue for your final thoughts.
All right. Final thought. Anyone with the ability to love should start with yourself. That's my final thought. Love you. Unapologetically love yourself because you're worthy and you're deserving.
Absolutely amazing. What a fabulous episode of Her Voice Shines. This guest was fire. I already knew she had some heat. So I told y'all to just kind of tune in and listen. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in with us for another fabulous episode of Her Voice Shines. I'm Shanasia Washington, and I want to thank you. And until next time, remember to let your voice shine.